Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Pixel Chatter. This is Pixel Chatter number 6, and will be the last Pixel Chatter for a couple of weeks because I'm going away on a family holiday. But thanks again for the feedback that I've been getting about the Pixel Chatter shows. It's been great having you tune in, and thanks for sending in your images for critique. I know it's a brave move for sending in your images because you never know. But I like to assure you that doesn't matter what I say. I'm no expert. I just give you my tips and hints on how I would have critiqued, how I would have taken the shot, or maybe changed my composition a bit to make the image a bit better. And the feedback I've been getting is people have been enjoying that critiquing. So if you want your image critiqued on the Pixel Chatter show, all you got to do is send 3 images through to Ben at on3legs, and that's with the word 3.com. So that's Ben at on3legs.com. It's in the description under this video. And I will do my best to get them into a future episode. I have got dozens and dozens of images sent to me, so it could be a while before I get to your image, but I'll do my absolute best because I appreciate you sending them in, and I'll get to it as quickly as I can. Alrighty, so a few things to cover off this week. First of all, thanks for those of you that sent me through messages of concern about the coffee spill last week. It was a little bit of a disaster. I have no liquids around me this time, so looking pretty good. And let me see I'm just going to check the message box over here, see who's tuning in. Let me have a look. All right, Ken. Good morning from Ipswich, Queensland. I don't know how the weather's going up there, but hopefully it's still nice and warm. Starting to cool down here in Sydney. Hey, Damon Powers, how you doing? Ian, g'day. Zora, good morning, Zora. Good to see you here. And glad you liked me putting my nose on my iPhone as I was editing that video. I'm watching it back. I was thinking to myself, geez, that looks weird. But anyway, there you go. G'day, R7 Orkana. How are you? I'm going well. How are you going? Hope you're going well. Who else we got tuning in there? All right, lots of exciting stuff to cover today. The normal stuff. Some Q&A I'm going to answer because I've got lots of questions coming in as well. If you do have a question, by the way, you can put it into the chat box here today, and I'll answer it. If you put it in the chat box after today, I'll answer it on an upcoming show, because I go through and read all the comments even after this show is finished being live. It stays as a recorded episode, and so people can come back and watch it. So if you want to leave a comment during the recording, or a question rather, that I can answer at a future episode, go for it. Happy for you to do that. Yes, or it did look weird, didn't it? But it works. And I do have the gloves that have the funny, I don't know, electromagnetic something on the finger and the thumb. But then they weren't warm enough, so I put a second pair of gloves over the top of them, and of course that stopped everything from working. So I looked very weird, but it worked well. It's Faulkner. Okay. R7 Orkner. That's what it looks like. But Faulkner, is that your first name, Faulkner? Excellent. Tim. Good morning, Ben. Finally made a live show from Florida, USA. G'day, Tim. How you going? Good to having you on the live show rather than watching the recording, Tim. Welcome along. Good to see we've got quite a few people logging in. Ian. G'day, Ian. How am I finding my Mavic for stills? I haven't tried it, Ian. I'm going to have to try that, aren't I? But to be 100% honest with you, I have not used my Mavic for still photography yet. I've seen a few people doing it, and I think in particular I've seen Trey Ratcliffe has been doing a fair bit with his. But I've been using mine just to add B-roll to my videos, thinking about how I can up my video production to make sure that my videos remain engaging, but also fun, educational, fun for me to do, but fun for you to watch. So I haven't used them for stills, but I think, you know what, maybe I should do a whole episode of doing stills photography with the Mavic. That'd be a bit of fun, wouldn't it? I might do that. All right, let's get stuck into the show. Thanks for those of you that are here for the live episode. Love to have you here. As I said at the very beginning, this will be the last one for a couple of weeks because I have got a holiday coming up. I'm going to Fiji, and I'm not sure how much photography I'll do there, if I'll do a vlog or not, because I'm staying on a small island. I've stayed there before, and there's not a lot of photographic opportunity because it's a small island, but there is some. So I'm sure I'll take the camera and I'm sure I'll vlog something from there. Why not? I may as well, eh? All right, just a reminder from a social media point of view, I am on Facebook and on Instagram, and both of those channels I typically post a photo every day. You can also, message me there and chat with me, connect with me, and I encourage you, connect with me and share me your Facebook page or your Instagram handle so I can follow you as well, and that way we can stay connected, because that's kind of cool. I love that about social media, is that we can all stay connected together, and that works really well. Okay, now I'm just going to quickly make an adjustment here. I can see something not working properly with the audio. Hopefully you can hear me okay. But I'm just going to make sure that there we go. Awesome. Came up with a little funny warning, but I'm sure it's okay. Alrighty. Oh, Ian said he's last week got the P4. Yeah, the Phantom 4, whole different ball game. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. All right. Now, the other thing I wanted to remind you of is that if you haven't already, head to my website. I've been a little bit infrequent in putting blog posts up there. I'm putting them on YouTube more than on my blog. I should be updating this more often. But if you come here, there's a whole... Because I used to just, before I had my YouTube channel going, I used to write articles and blog and go crazy on this website. So, feel free to go and check out that. There's a lot of articles and a lot of things on there that you can benefit from. One of the things that you can definitely benefit from is if you go up the top menu here, you'll see it says free ebook. If you haven't already downloaded that, you can download my free ebook, 10 Tips to Better Photos. And like I said, it's absolutely free, and plenty of people have enjoyed grabbing that book and learning something from it. So if you want to do that, then go for it. All right, let's get stuck into some Q&A. So I've got some previous questions sent to me. Chance, hello from Arizona. G'day, I'd love to go to Arizona. I must come over and visit one day. Looks like an absolutely amazing place. All right, so I'm going to answer some questions. Alrighty. So I've got a question from Nige Baton. Nige asked me, he said, great vlog, Ben. Do you think you would ever consider switching exclusive to Fuji? So he watched a vlog from Tassie where I was using the X-T1. He said, we are traveling next year and I'm thinking of selling all my gear and going completely Fuji. I know the size and weight will be a bonus, but I'm concerned about image quality and the size I will be able to print. What are your thoughts on this? Cheers. Thanks for your question, Nige. The best way for me to answer this is to jump into a couple of images and show you, which I'm going to do right now. I'm going to show you a couple of my images that I've taken, one on the D810 and one on the Fuji. So this first image here is an image that I've taken on the Nikon D810. It's a totally raw file. I've done nothing to this. Okay, this is just to show you the difference. Now the main difference is megapixels. So if you have a look at the EXIF information over here, you can see this is 7,300 odd times 4,900 pixels. So that's 36 megapixel sensor. If I then jump to one that I took on my Tassie travels, once again, totally unedited, raw file, and this is at 1:1, but you'll see this one's 4,800 times 3,200, which is 16 megapixels. So straight away you're losing a fair bit of crop area. Now the benefit to that is when you shoot with the Nikon D810, if you want to crop and then print, you're still going to have a decent size file. With the Fuji, you don't get that. As for image quality though, I mean, this is out of the Fuji and this is at 1:1. Let me zoom right in. I mean, the image quality is pretty amazing. Like, it's just... It's hard to fault Fuji's image quality. In fact, I think the images come out sharper than the Nikon. So, to me, I wouldn't hesitate making the switch. I probably wouldn't, if I was going to make a complete switch, I would probably go to the X-T2, or I would consider the Sony, because the Sony is a full frame sensor. And that's, I think, and I don't know why, but when I go out and shoot, I still prefer to shoot with my Nikon. And it's not because of image quality, because the quality is the same, right? The actual sharpness of everything is the same. It's not like the Fuji is terrible. I just prefer shooting with the Nikon, and there is a couple of reasons for it. One is the Nikon has a backup memory card, which the Fuji doesn't have. The X-T1, the X-T2 does, which is why I suggest that could be a good option. The other thing is I think the Nikon is just what I've always been shooting with, so I think I still prefer that. But when you compare the two images, it's hard to pick a difference. They're both very sharp. They're both good quality cameras. I mean, Fuji are known for their optics, so there's no reason why. And if I shoot back into Lightroom quickly, even when it comes to editing, if I go into develop, this is the Nikon D810 image we're looking at here, and I'll just push the shadows all the way up so you can sort of see. That's with the shadows pushed all the way up. If I go to the other image, we go back to the library. If I go back into the Fuji image and do the same thing, now keeping in mind that the D810's native ISO is 64 and the Fuji's is 200, but still, we'll do the same thing because it's a good way to sort of get a feel for the quality. It's just, you can see it doesn't lose anything. It's still great. And so this is for me, I don't see why not. I mean, I can bring the highlights down and you've got a really nicely exposed image, and that's just with two sliders. There you go. So I wouldn't hesitate. Definitely no reason why you should hesitate between switching completely to Fuji. I think it's an easy thing to do. They both shoot great photos, and if you want to save on the weight, it's a good way to do it. So thanks for that question, Nige. So it's interesting. Ian has just asked me, do you not think that Nikon has better glass than Fuji? No, I don't at all. Fuji has really good optics. And that's the one thing that surprised me with Fuji was how good the optics were. I don't think that there's a discernible difference. So if you're a traveling photographer, you've only got to look at go and check out Elia Liccardi's work. Elia Liccardi was shooting with Nikon, and then he obviously got approached by Fuji because he was shooting Nikon and Fuji. Nikon was his main body, but all of a sudden he dropped Nikon and just went completely Fuji. Now he's shooting with the GFX now, which is a medium format, but he was shooting just with the X-T1 pretty much exclusively. And you go and check out his work, you'll get a good... He's no longer using both, Ian. He's now only using the Fuji gear. I think he's sponsored by Fuji or something like that. So, pretty amazing stuff. Alrighty, let's get on to my next question I had. I'll just check my chat box. What's going on over here? Camera Crusades as well from Arizona. So we've got a couple from Arizona, Chance and Camera Crusades from Arizona. Yeah, awesome stuff. All right, so let me jump back into... Make sure I'm in the right thing here. Okay, next question. I'm just going to get rid of my... There we go. All right. So the next question I've got is from Steve Kunda, I think it is, Kundr, Steve Kunda. And he's asked a question about the ND filter. When you put a big stopper on or a ND 400 filter on, he says, do you focus before putting the filter on, or can I focus with it on? And that's a good question, right? Because one of the challenges with a big stopper filter is that when you put it on your lens, is that because they're very dark, you can't see through them very hard. The good thing is, depending on the lens and the camera you've got, sometimes with live view, you can actually see by opening the aperture all the way up. So if you go down to f2.8, if you've got that lens on, or an f4, maybe wind the ISO up to 16,000, and you've got live view on. Live view typically shows you the image that you're likely to get. So by bumping the ISO up temporarily and opening the aperture right up temporarily, quite often I can see well enough in the live view to focus. And with the Fuji, it's got like focus peaking, which makes it even easier. So there's a few ways to cheat. Typically though, I focus first and then I put the filter on. The challenge with the screw-in filter, which is the Hoya ND filter that I use on the 16 to 35mm lens, it has a 77mm thread on it. So anything with a 77mm thread, is that sometimes putting the filter on can move the focus. So you've got to be careful. So what I suggest is that every time you take an image with a big stopper on, or an ND filter that's like 9 stops, 6 stops, whatever it might be, make sure in your image preview you zoom into 100% and make sure everything's in focus, because nothing worse than going out, putting the effort into taking the photos, and I've done this, get home and then find they're all out of focus. Alrighty, we are going to go on to the third question I have. Before I do, let's go and check the chat box. Mav Fan. Fuji has made a lot of Hasselblad lenses. They know what they're doing. Yeah, they do. I also believe they've made some for NASA or something that take photos of the Earth from satellites and all sorts of stuff. So they're pretty up there when it comes to optics. Aussie Vlogs. G'day, mate. How are you? The dynamic duo is home. Yes, we didn't die of hypothermia on top of Mount Wellington. If you saw my last video, my it was cold up there. All right, third question I've got is from Roger, and I'm just going to flip over to my web browser so you can see what I'm looking at. All right, here we go. What tripod do I use? I get this question at least 3 or 4 times a week, and I might just do a dedicated video just on what tripod I use. Many, many years ago, I decided that I would go on this journey of working out how to get the absolute sharpest image I could. And that meant upgrading my tripod. So I went through the process of looking for what I thought would be the best tripod for what I was doing. And it was through frustration that the one that I had, I was using, it was an older one. It was metal or aluminium. It was the leg locks were failing. They were like the clip ones that flick out, and it was very cold to handle in the colder weather, which sounds like a wussy thing, but why not be comfortable when you can be? And it was heavy, and I was getting quite serious with my my landscape photography, so I started to look around at what was available. And at the time, I was quite fortunate that the US dollar was on parity with the Aussie dollar. It was very strong. And so I could look at some options overseas. So what I ended up doing was going with this company here, Really Right Stuff. Now, I'm not paid by them at all. They don't endorse me. They don't even know I'm doing this, right? I just get asked the question, and I'm going to let you know that I've bought one from them. And if you want a great tripod, I can 100% recommend these guys, not just for the tripod, but for their customer service. Now, I bought a Series 3 tripod, and my criteria when I was deciding on a tripod, I wanted one that was light, that was sturdy, and it didn't have a center pole. One of the things that I noticed was tripods with a center pole, that's their weakest point. If it's not well manufactured, where that center pole raises up and down can be very, very susceptible to camera shake if it's not a good construction. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go without worrying about a center pole. And so this led me to this series of tripods here. So I've got this one here, the TVC 33. You can see it's $975 US dollars. And they're currently out of stock, as you can see. They're all out of stock. My goodness. They're very, very popular. They're a small company in the US somewhere. Anyway, when I first saw that price, I shrieked. But then I thought, you know what? Buy once and cry once, and that may be it, because I'd heard such great things about these tripods. So I got the TVC 33, and, you know, that was the first part of the purchase. This is just for the legs, by the way. There's no head on this thing. Which was my next decision, because I needed to make sure I had a head. So I bought those legs. That was, I don't know how many years ago now, 7, 8 years ago. I've still got them. I did have a problem with one of the clips that they basically self-lock when you go past each locking point of moving the legs out. And I sent them an email, and within a few days they had airmailed me replacement parts with full instructions on how to service my tripod, no questions asked. And that's why I say this company's amazing. For me, that's good service. So that's the tripod I've got. I then had to choose a head, and I decided on a ball head, and I just went for this full-sized one, the BH55. And once again, you can see it's not cheap. but I've had no problems with it, and I find it perfect for landscape photography. It's not going to be good for videography, but it's perfect for landscape photography. It locks off, you can adjust tension, and I got the one here like this one with the lever rather than a screw one. I got the one with the lever, and I find that it just works really well. It's very accurate, and it's very, very stable. So I have used that and love it. Ian says, very nice tripod, tad pricey though. Yeah, it's up there. But you know what? Up until this tripod, I'd bought maybe 5 tripods. Since owning this tripod, I've bought one tripod, and the only reason I bought that was I wanted the Benro travel tripod that I took to Tassie with me with packs flat. Tim, g'day Tim. Tim says the leveling base, the Really Right Stuff leveling base, well worth the cost for the Series 3 tripod. I have the same tripod. Yeah, I don't have the leveling base. I actually have the Pano kit, which has a leveling base on it. Oh, let me go back there. I'll close that down. There we go. And I don't know where it is. It's in here somewhere. Where would it be? There's leveling bases anyway. Maybe it's in here. Yeah, so what I have, see this here, the round lever release clamp. I have something like that, and it works with the panoramic rail. Actually, in fact, I think that's what I have. So it's got a level on it. Yeah, I think that's what I have. It's hard to know. They've got so much stuff. This is also where I get my oil plates from, by the way, for my camera. Yeah, I don't know. I can't see the... Let's have a look in here. Pano gimbal heads, no. Yeah, it's a Pano head. Let me have a look. It'll be in here somewhere, the thing that I have. I thought it would be. No, that's all sort of gimbally looking stuff. But yeah, but I have... the thing that I have levels it anyway, so yeah. But that's the tripod that I've got. So thanks for that question, Steve. At least now you know what I use and why I use it. But I've absolutely enjoyed using it. It's easy to clean as well. So, I take it, I put it in the mud, I put it in the sea. I really torture it, and it's easy to bring home and clean. I never have any problems with it. Alrighty. Now, I don't know why I put this question in. It's like, I know a lot of people asked the question, but I think I liked his name, and it was John Doe, that asked that question, not Steve. John Doe. And I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know that it is his real name or his YouTube name, but John Doe. So I think that's why I put the question in. Okay, let's jump straight into these critiques. And this week I've got a few brave people have put their images up for critique, and we have got, let me have a look here, we've got Ralph Carper from Germany. Thanks, Ralph. And we're going to have a look at a tower or a lighthouse from his local area. Dave Koch from, he took some photos in Utah National Park. Makes me want to go there, let me tell you, and I'll show you this image. Pretty cool. And then Roger Makatich from Sydney has sent in a couple of images as well. So a local from my hometown. So we're going to put his image up as well. All right, so let's start off with taking a look at... Let me see if I can get that up on the screen for you. Here we go. Taking a look at this one here from Ralph Carper. Now, Ralph sent this in. He said it's a lighthouse close to his hometown. He shot this one early sunset hours, more than an hour to go before the sun was all the way down. And you can sort of see that. It looks like there's a lot of blown highlights just off to the left of the frame. So I wanted to talk about a couple of things here. And this one's got the EXIF information with it as well on the right-hand side. And I don't know how well you can see that, but it's on the right-hand side here. Easy for me to see. Essentially, this one has been shot on a D800. And what's interesting here is that this is a massive crop. Or he's zoomed right in, rather. He's got a 70-200 on, and it's at 122 millimeters. And I think it's too tight. That's my first bit of feedback. So for me, it doesn't work. Also, the difference between the shadows and the highlights, there's a lot of dynamic range going on here. And the image is flat. It lacks life. And I don't know what you could have done differently, because obviously the sun hadn't set yet. you can see over here to the left that those highlights, if I let me go into develop. You're not far off blowing out those highlights. Let's have a look. Yeah, right on the border. So they're just about blown out, and I think that's part of the challenge here. I feel like I need to see a bit more detail in the Lighthouse, rightly or wrongly. So I'm just going to make a few adjustments to see if I can fix it a little bit. Remembering I've just got a JPEG here. But I would prefer to see a bit more detail. And you're shooting this with if I go back to the EXIF information, shooting it with a D800. So you've got the ability to pull the detail out. The other thing, you've shot it at ISO 200, where the D800 native's ISO is 100. So, with all this light, there's no need to crank your ISO up at all. All you're doing is adding a little bit of noise. And I just think it's too tight. And I'm just wondering if maybe you were there early for the sunset and you were just snapping shots and hopefully trying to get something before the sun went down. But I'm just, my feedback, once again, and this is happening a lot with these photos, is that the composition seems to be a big thing. There are a few technical things here, and these are good things for all of us to learn because it's easy to fix. Always check your ISO. So have a system when you go out to shoot where you check your camera. Make sure you've got RAW file selected, you're on auto white balance, your ISO's on the lowest it will go. And that way you just make that your habit, like a little checklist, and then you've got that done. For me, this was also shot at f7.1 at 1250 of a second. It's a really fast shutter speed. So there was a lot of light happening. So you could have gone to f9, f10, f11. When you're shooting with a 70 to 200 f2.8 lens, that lens would have been fine, and you probably would have, got a better shot. But once again, I feel like you've just taken the shot because you were there and you decided, yep, I'm going to give this a crack. Because I'm waiting for the sun to set, and I don't know that it's the best photo from that perspective. Too tightly cropped, and same if you look at even things like the rule of thirds. There's nothing of interest on a particular point. You've put the Lighthouse pretty much dead center, which sometimes works, but very rarely. So there you go. That's my feedback on that one. Not a lot to add because there's not a lot going on here, but it's just an image that I probably would have taken, but I wouldn't, I would have got home and gone, nah, I won't do anything with that. It's just, sometimes you're best just to wait till you get the best light and then take the photo. That would be my advice. All right. Let's go to the next image. Let me flick back over to this one here and check the chat box, see what you're all doing there. Who we got logging in there? Oh, Brian slept in. Luckily I didn't, Brian, but good that you're here. Alan, be safe on holidays. Oh, I will be. I'm going to do a lot of scuba diving. And it's funny, I've tried a fair bit of photography scuba diving, and geez, that's hard. I don't know if anybody here does that, but my goodness. Landscape photography is so much easier. It's like when people ask me if I'll photograph their kids or something, or that I'll do some family photos for them. I always say no, because people move. They don't cooperate. The landscape, yeah, sure, things change, but slowly, right? Even the sun might take 10 minutes to rise, as where, I never like that. And when you're underwater, so the landscape stays still. When you're underwater, the landscape, whilst it may stay still, you're moving. So I'm floating in the water, and then if there's fish as well, they're moving as well. So it's just too hard. And boy, oh boy, you need some very different gear and experience or skills to shoot underwater. All right, let's get on to the second image critique, because this image this image has the potential to be absolutely stunning, and I'll show you why in a second. This one was sent in by Dave Kosh. Let's flick over to the image. And I'm extremely envious of where Dave has been, and I'm sure many of the viewers right now would love to go to wherever this is. Now, this was shot, this was shot in Utah National Park, and he set up here, he shot this on a 1,500 mile trip to shoot a couple of locations, and this was one of them. What a stunning location. What a stunning bit of landscape. I'm extremely jealous, and I would love to go there myself. Now, let's have a look at the image. So first of all, I'm going to look at the EXIF information. Let's just dissect that a little bit, and then we'll jump into the image itself. I think, first of all, really smart move to get this tree in the foreground because it brings it to life, but we'll talk about that shortly. The location, it's one of those locations where I reckon you could point your camera in any direction. It looks like it's just a marvellous place. You're going to get a fantastic shot. Let's talk about technicals for a second, and I actually want to use this as an example because this guy, Dave, has got an old camera and he's using a non-professional type lens, yet he's got a cracking image. And so it's a good example of, people. I think last week we were talking about gear and, do you need the best lenses? Do you need the best cameras? The answer is no. He shot this on a D300S, which is a Nikon model from probably a good 8 years ago. He's used an 18 to 200 millimeter lens, which is f3.5 to 5.6, which is, a slower lens, which it doesn't matter. This just proves to you it doesn't matter in landscape photography. You can get away with it. The colours are good, the sharpness is good, the image is great from that perspective. A couple of things that I would have changed though technically. He shot this at f5. When you've got foreground that close to you and the background that far away from you, you've got to be really mindful of depth of field. Now, being a crop sensor, sort of got away with it, but there's no reason why you couldn't have shot at f9 or f11, Definitely. Also shot it at ISO 125. I'm not sure if that's the base ISO for the 300S, but fairly close to the 100 anyway if it is the base ISO. But once again, just check that. Just from an image quality point of view, I'm just going 1-to-1 here for you. I mean, this is an older camera and a cheaper lens, and it is a cracking quality shot. So well done. You can see it's a bit soft on the edges. Which is, what you get when you have a cheaper lens, but otherwise it's pretty good, pretty amazing. All right. So that's sort of technically, I think, the things that you could have done better. Higher aperture number, so smaller opening in your aperture. So say f9, f10, f11, and, ISO, lower ISO. The other thing I would have done is you've got to be careful is to separate things a bit more. And once again, I wasn't there, so it's hard to know. But if it was me, I would have got down lower. And the reason I would have done that is it would have separated this tree more from that background. The background's very busy. The other thing is above the tree, there's very little space. And you've got to be careful of that when you're taking a photo. Very little space above the tree, and it sort of makes it a bit crowded and a bit close. So I would have moved back, I would have moved down, and it would have given me a different aspect, a different shot. And maybe you did take another shot like that, I don't know, because I'm sure you took more than one, but that's probably what I would, not probably, it's definitely what I would have done. I would never have got this close to it. It just feels like you're too close to this tree. Now, having said that, you might be on the edge of one of these little, I don't know, cliffy looking things up here, I don't know, and it was impossible for you to step back. So, this is the challenge with me critiquing these photos, is I wasn't there. So you probably, you could have done the best you could have done, who knows. But if it was possible, stand back a bit and higher f-stop and, think about not crowding the frame too much. As for placement, perfect spot, tree off to the left, makes it work really well. The other thing you could have done was move slightly to the right. And the reason I would have done that is just to frame this tree up in this valley a bit better. And these are the little things that you think about before you press the shutter button. Look at your image, or take a test shot and look at your image on the LCD screen and say, what could I do better? What 2 or 3 things could I do that'll just make this image that little bit better? And if you just take a bit of time and you ask yourself those questions, you're going to find that you'll get better results, because quite often we get excited, especially a location like this, and the sun's obviously only going to hit these cliff faces and this tree for so long because it's setting, so you want to jump in there quickly. Beautiful location, great go, great effort, and cracking start to an image there. So I think you've done well. But they're my tips on that one. Once again, a few technical tips, few compositional tips. But one of the things that is cool about that particular shot is that you can quickly see that just by doing a couple of small changes, you're going to improve it. You can also see that you don't need the latest and greatest gear because he's using a D300S, which most people have tried to get rid of by now. But he's managed to shoot a cracking image with that camera. So a good lesson for anybody who's got a bit of gear lust, which I know happens a fair bit. I get it myself. All right. And my final image, Roger Makatich. Now, this is a Sydney local, no XF information, so I can't tell you too much about it. I do know it's a bit of a longer exposure because of the water. Looks like it's got a bit of longer exposure time to it. But I don't have any other XF information. This is a bridge in Roselle. And once again, I'm going to give you probably compositional advice, not technical, because there is no technical information in the file, so I can't give you that. For me, this image doesn't work as well as it could. I see you've gone for black and white. Good choice, given the fact that there was probably no colour. But I feel like you probably could have changed composition. I would have gone to landscape mode rather than portrait to get more of this S in. Let me just... so I don't need the... we'll go into Photoshop quickly because I haven't done that at all with any of them today. We go and we'll get the pen happening. Okay. Oh, I do that all the time. I press Command O instead of Command 0. And that's the command to go full frame basically. Alrighty, so I've got my brush. Yep, so I think that this here would have been better over this side of the image. And if it was landscape, you would have got more of this curve leading the eye, to that part of the image. I think that would look good. Also, with a long exposure, maybe you could have got some drama in the clouds by having more of the sky. Once again, I wasn't there, so it's hard for me to know exactly what is going on. And this is all subjective. Like I said, this is if you like it, you like it. But for me, I feel like it just is. Once again, it's a bit crowded. I feel you're just a bit too close to it. But there are some aspects that really work nice from this angle. So, like I said, it's all subjective. If you have a look at these pillars, for example, from this particular angle, they work really well. And it's a shame there wasn't more colour. I just feel like up here this is dominating, and it would have been nice if it was just over here. I mean, you could have stuck with this portrait. I think if you moved over a bit, it also would have just opened up just in between these pillars slightly because of the perspectives of moving to the right. Would have given it something a little bit different. But I don't know. I just feel like I'm left wanting more because this here just sort of, I don't know, dominates, and then there's this leading line, but I can't really see what it's leading to. So I think that that's all I can give you from this point of view is a bit of compositional advice. Maybe zoom out a little bit more, not crowd things so much. But that's my personal opinion. I haven't actually shot this bridge, so I don't know. Maybe I should go down and find this bridge in Roselle and shoot it, see how it goes. Yeah, for me, that's what I would do. That's the difference I would do. I'm not a big fan of black and white either. I'm just not my thing. I've tried a couple of black and whites. I really like colour. I'm a big one on colour. But there you go, Roger. Hopefully that's helped you. I think, and maybe you did take some other compositions. I don't know. Alrighty. So let me check the chat box. What's going on out in the chat box there? Nadine Cos says, I really like that bridge composition. It's amazing. Yeah, okay. And that's the thing. You see, everyone is... And that's the good thing about photography. I always say, I know you're sending them in to me for my thoughts, but I'm not an expert. I have my own style. And, you know, it is all about doing your own thing. And I think I said that last week. I can't remember what we were talking about. It was just as I was spilling the coffee, I think, is that it's your photography. Do whatever you like. You know, if you want to manipulate your photos like crazy, go for it. There's nothing stopping you from doing that except yourself. And one of the downsides, I mean, social media is amazing, right? It's really cool to be able to share stuff. But it's easy to get knockers as well. People are very brave behind their computers, and they'll type stuff that's nasty. Comments on your photos or on your videos. And don't worry, I've had them. I hide the comments. I get rid of them. I don't let those trolls get publicity on my videos, but they're there. So I want you to know that as a photographer in this digital age where social media is so prevalent, you've just got to be strong and go, you know what, if I like it, it's what I'm going to do, because there are plenty of people out there that will tell you that what you've done is not right because they don't agree with it, and that's their opinion. And you've always got to remember that that's their opinion. It doesn't matter what somebody else thinks, it's so long as you're happy with it. And I learned that in the early days of my HDR, when I went nuts with HDR. And I know I overdid it, but it was part of my process of learning, and I was enjoying myself. So what's it matter? If I was having fun, then that's all that matters. I was enjoying myself, and I was doing doing what I wanted to do. Sorry, I just realised that you had a pixel chatter image up on the screen. There you go. Now you got me scratching my head instead. Alrighty, let me have a look at the comments box. Let's have a look. Big Oz. Hey Ben, I've made it from the start. Was watching on my phone and my laptop has crashed. Trying to do a pano from tonight's sunset, but up and running now. Cool. G'day, Big Oz. Good to have you here. And Nadine says, I think the bridge ends there and probably leads to something boring. Yeah, look, it's possible. And that's one of the challenges for me, is I can only see what is in the photo. I can't see unless they give me a story. And I say to people, if you're going to send your photos in for critique, the more you can tell me about it, the better. So don't be afraid to write a small paragraph and say, hey, Ben, I took this photo. The reason I compose it like this is... try and include the EXIF information as well, because then I can look at it from a technical aspect, because quite often I can help you more from a technical aspect than anything else. Although, compositionally, we've seen some pretty cool things come out of my tips over the last 5 episodes with the photography. I've now critiqued 18 photos in total. And that's a really good catalogue of little tips and hints on little things you can do to improve your photos. And I've had a few people send me in their photos after the critique using the tips and advice, and getting some better results that they're happier with, not by my judgment but by them. And really, that's what I enjoy the most, is the fact that you watch my videos, I give you tips, you go away and you take better photos. And that's awesome for me to know that I'm actually helping a bunch of people in dozens of countries all over the world take their photography to the next level. Pretty exciting when you think about it. So yeah, that's where it's at. All right. So thanks again for Ralph, Dave, and Roger for sending in those images. Really, really appreciate it. I know that it is a brave move to send your photos in for somebody else to check out, and it's made this live episode every week a bit of fun. Like I said, we'll have a couple of weeks off Pixel Chatter because I am going away on a family vacation, much needed rest for a couple of weeks, and I'll be on an island in Fiji that doesn't have a huge amount of photographic potential because there's no amazing landscapes there. It's just a little island in the Pacific Ocean, but I'm sure I'll find something to photograph. So I'll take the vlogging kit, I'll take my camera, and I'll see if I can punch out a vlog anyway whilst I'm there. I was going to take the drone, not sure whether they'll let me fly it or not, but hopefully they will, and I'll have a bit of fun with that as well. Maybe I could try taking some stills with that. If you've got any other questions as we wrap up here, type it into the chat box. More than happy to answer them before we finish up today. But yeah, just wanted to once again say thanks for tuning in, especially those of you that have made it to the live show, because it's good to have that interaction. When I do the vlogs, it's just me and the camera, or me and the boss and the camera. When I do these, I get to interact a bit more with you. It's a bit of fun. So I enjoy doing that. Alrighty. So, any other chat box comments? Nothing else anybody wants to add? Ken says, great show. Thanks, Ken. Appreciate you tuning in, mate. Zora says, I, for one, really appreciate your time and advice when you critique my photo. It has made a difference. I ask more questions now before I take the shot. Yeah, and I think I find that. I've done a few workshops where, I've had requests. People say, hey, Ben, can you run a workshop? And I've run some workshops. And I find the number one thing for people is to slow people down. because we get in this rush where we just go and take photos and don't think about what we're doing. Instead, I say to people, forget about the camera. Don't even look at the camera for a second. Just look at the landscape. Look at what you're about to capture and decide what you want your picture to look like before you go to your tools. Once you decide what you want your picture to look like, then you can go to your tools and decide how to set those up. Shutter speeds, apertures, tripods, cable releases, composition, all of those things. But decide first what you want to achieve, then go to your tools. And I find too many people jump in really fast and don't think about what they're doing. Alrighty. Faulkner says, what difference does it make when the long noise reduction option is on the D810? Well, that's a great question. I haven't used it for a long time, so I'm going to be spitballing here, but my history with noise reduction in camera has taught me not to turn it on. And the reason for that is that, first of all, is it doesn't do the best job in camera. You're better off doing it with software afterwards. And the second thing is that noise reduction in camera takes just as long to apply the noise reduction as it took to take the shot. Well, it used to. I don't know what the D810 is like because I haven't used it for in my last few cameras. But what used to happen was if you switched it on, you would take the photo. Let's say you did a 30-second exposure, and typically that's when you would want to use noise reduction because it's got the long exposure noise reduction. You switch it on, you take your 30-second exposure. It would then take another 30 seconds for it to do the noise reduction before you could use the camera. And that was really frustrating. So I just stopped using it. And now what I do is I do my noise reduction in Photoshop or in Lightroom. I have a couple of plugins that I've tried, but typically I find the noise reduction in Photoshop works best. And the way I do it is I use blending. And maybe what I should do is I'll do a video on that one day. Now, having said that, I don't do a lot of noise reduction these days because the D810 is just so good that I don't need to. But yeah, I find that, and you've got the D810, so you shouldn't have too many problems. But if you're doing night photography, then maybe you have that issue. I'm not sure. But that's my thoughts on that. I try and get the camera to do as least as possible, and I'll fix up as much as I can when I get back home, and I'll put it into Lightroom or into Photoshop. That's typically what I do. Alrighty. Sorry, just looking out the window there. I'm expecting a delivery, and I thought they'd arrived. All right, well, if there's no other questions, I think I will sign off, and I'm going to try and get my other vlog up because I'll be away on Wednesday. I leave Tuesday morning, which is Anzac Day in Australia, which is our Remembrance Day for the fallen soldiers, for those of you that are around the world. It's a pretty important day. But I leave on Anzac Day, and I will be in a place where I'm not sure what capabilities I'll have to be able to upload anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and edit and upload the next vlog Monday night, and then there'll be a 2-week gap before I do the next one. But that way at least I get another video up before I go. I've got a few in the bag from when I was in Tassie, so I've got a few to edit, and that's what I'm planning on. Alrighty. So I'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'm going away to relax in Fiji, have a few cocktails by the pool, do a bit of scuba diving, and get some much needed R&R until the next Pixel Chatter. So next Pixel Chatter will be in a couple of weeks. Just look out for I'm pretty sure you get notified. I'm not sure how it works, but yeah, just look out for the next live announcement. Oh, we'll schedule it now anyway, so you'll see it, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Until then, happy snapping. Cheerio.